Hey, we're good.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Kayla Wong, and I am a freshman at Rutgers University studying computer science and data analytics. And I'm currently a Junior Achievement of New Jersey Capstone Programs intern. We are so thrilled to have Valerie Montecalvo here today to talk with us. Entrepreneur and environmental enthusiast, Valerie Montecalvo is CEO and owner of Bayshore Recycling Corporation, an NJDEP licensed facility located in Woodbridge, New Jersey. Valerie and her corporation work forward towards sustainable recycling, especially with materials such as brick, concrete, and asphalt. She also advocates for environmental protection and sustainability through her support for organizations like Clean Ocean Action and Edison Wetlands. Additionally, Valerie champions women in the workplace, advocating for women in non traditional careers, specifically in business, by speaking at panels and inspiring young women. Not only is Valerie an entrepreneur, but she is a role model and inspiration to many young women. So, Valerie, thank you so much for being here. And I just want to start off by saying that I am so impressed and inspired by you because you're so successful in such a male dominated field. And I know that coming from someone who's in computer science, which is also a male dominated field, it's so inspiring to have a woman, a role model who's so successful in one of those careers. So, I'm truly inspired by you and you're so incredible. So, just to start off, please tell us about Bayshore Recycling and your role and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. First, Kayla, and thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. I'm proud and honored to be here. So, back in 1980, when I was going to school, I met my husband, and he started a small contracting business with some dump trucks and loaders and backhoes. And I was intrigued that he was chose this type of business versus his family's business, which was a restaurant. So all the while when I would help him in order to see him because he was a very busy guy, while I was doing homework, after I was finished with homework, I would help him with his accounts payable, accounts receivable, and I started learning a little bit about business. And so over the years, I ended up joining him with his contracting company, and together we became a nice mid-sized company doing all kinds of excavation, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, water mains, infrastructure work locally in Woodbridge, and then branched out into Middlesex County and then Monmouth County. And during that time, I noticed that all of the concrete, asphalt, brick and block, and construction materials were just dumped in a landfill. And I was very fortunate to be able to spend some time. I would actually go on the truck with Frank or some of our employees, and I wanted to see firsthand what exactly happened with this material. And I was a bit shocked to see that all of this material was just being dumped in like a giant landfill. So, and growing up in Carteret, which is very urban, I would look across the river. And when I was small, I saw that the Fresh Kills landfill was basically almost mid-level with the Arthur Cull. And then as over the years, it would raise and it became a mountain. So many times when we did jobs in New York, we would take material into Fresh Kills or any other local landfills. And I thought, my gosh, there has to be a better way as a society, as a planet, that we manage these materials. So again, being a very modest sized business, I never thought that I can completely do any kind of change in society, but I thought in small steps, if I can at least just do changes, and my husband's company, and which we eventually got married and it became both of our company together, if we can do small changes within our network of construction companies, that perhaps it would lead others to follow. And that's when the concept when Bayshore Recycling was developed. We looked at that point in just making aggregates for our own projects out of the concrete, asphalt, brick, and block. So what we would do would we would bring our own materials back to, we found a site in Perth Amboy at the time, because as we learned more, we found out that it was a very specific type of permitting that was needed to do this. So we were able to get a permit within DEP for a small site in Perth Amboy, which was a former junkyard, and we actually scrap yard for scrap metal. And we were able to bring the material back from the jobs, and then through a series of crushing equipment and loaders, we were able to crush this material to get an aggregate, which is a stone type material and an engineered fill that we can reuse right back in our own projects. And we thought, wow, we love this. Because in our minds, we thought, wow, one day we'd love to have a quarry or an asphalt plant or something like that. And then we realized that that was at that point in our career was completely unattainable. So we wanted to make those same materials from recycled products. And we thought, wow, we're saving the environment because we don't have to blast away a quarry, which these quarries are usually in these beautiful mountainous areas with lots of trees. So they would have to clear the trees and then blast the stone out of the land to make the material. And here we were making it out of debris that came from a road. So to me, common sense, you're tearing up a road, you're tearing out, you're demolishing buildings, you're bringing that material down. And we did not invent that. Other people did do it, but they were mostly demolition contractors. So what we bought was our infrastructure experience, which we already knew how to make an engineered product. So it wasn't a product that was just a bunch of demolition ground up and said, here, use this. We already had a knowledge that it had to be an engineered specification in order for the townships and counties and the state to be able to approve it to reuse in the road. So that's where we were ahead of the game. So we made this product that was sellable, and the rest is history. People, some of our competitors started to use us. We coined ourselves an urban quarry, and we just kept growing and growing and growing to where we are today, where we have this 60 plus acre facility on the waterfront that's served by rail. And we don't only do the concrete, asphalt, brick, and block as making aggregate. We have 7 different companies recycling everything from contaminated soil to scrap metal to appliances to construction demolition to your typical recycling, which you know as bottles, cans, newspapers, and cardboard. So it's been quite a journey.
Wow, that's incredible. And I love how you said that you saw like a problem and then you took all of, your expertise and your businesses to help try to, fix that and try to just put some more, good and make a change in the world. And that's really inspiring, especially for our young students watching today. So I know that you're a part of Junior Achievement. What is one of your best Junior Achievement memories and why? And what lessons did you learn through that experience? Or what experiences resonated you from being part of JA?
So when I was in school and growing up in Carteret, and Carteret was considered a factory town, and there were several different manufacturing facilities. There was a lot of chemical manufacturing. There was U.S. Metal, smelting and refining. There was Carl Koch. There was all of these, since the turn of the century, facilities that were set up on the banks of the Raritan River. And my father was a truck driver, and a lot of my relatives worked in all of these facilities, including Carborundum, which is now Bayshore Recycling. And so I saw that growing up, that all of these jobs were created from these facilities. And when the opportunity came up in Carteret High to join Junior Achievement, I said, this is very interesting. A lot of my family gets their jobs from these different types of organizations and businesses. I'd like to see what's behind the doors. So I actually, the meetings were held at FMC Chemical, which is on the Arthur Kill, was on the Arthur Kill on the banks of the river. And when I got there, I was totally surprised. I didn't know what to expect, but I was extremely excited because it was my first glimpse into the business world. So here I am sitting in basically a conference room and with a bunch of, fellow students and people from Junior Achievement and then people from FMC Chemical. And I thought, wow, this is really, really exciting because who would get that opportunity to have a glimpse at the business world? And it actually made me think in my mind, I would love to somehow either own a business or be part of a business just from seeing the whole machinations behind the scene. So that is my earliest memory, and it's a very fond one, and it probably helped shape my future career path.
Wow, that's amazing. I think that being part as like a young student and being part of such like a business world and seeing into what can come next can really inspire you to, as your future career path. And I think that, after being part of Junior Achievement and after watching Junior Achievement, there's so many other students with similar experiences, which is so amazing. So looking back on your life and your career, which soft skills or employable skills did you develop that enabled you to come this far and accomplish so much?
Well, another opportunity and part of my inspiration for young students today that I would like to pass on is seize every job opportunity or every moment as an opportunity for career path. So my sister was working at Reichholz Chemicals, which was right down the street from FMC Chemicals, and they needed a receptionist while their receptionist was out. Well, they called it a switchboard operator back then, if you can even believe that, but it was already starting to get, it wasn't actually the wires where you would put them in. It actually was the one of the earliest digital type of switchboards managing a phone for a large facility and several hundred employees. So when their switchboard operator had to go out on disability for a few months, they were looking for someone to come in and fill in for the job. And my sister was like, my sister is going to school and she can use the job and I think she'd pick up fast. Can we try her out on the switchboard? So I seized the moment and seized the opportunity. And it kind of was like my junior achievement moment that here I was answering the phone in a chemical facility that had three different divisions, several hundred employees, was manufacturing, and I had to learn hundreds of people's names, what their extensions were, what their jobs were, how to manage this phone system, which again, in my 18 and 19-year-old mind was a little bit overwhelming, but I said, I can do this. I'm confident that I could do it. It was totally different from the mall where I worked part-time while going to school, but it was extremely exciting. And I tackled it in a matter of a couple of weeks, and I did so well at it that Reichholz Chemicals asked me to stay on and to learn a little bit about each person's job within the office. So while they went away on vacation, I would be able to fill in. And boy, was this a game changer for me in my career path because I learned payroll and personnel. I learned purchasing. I learned traffic, which was all of the trucking and transportation and logistics. I learned every single nuance about filling in for each person in the office while they went on vacation, at least to hold the fort down while and manage their calls and take messages. And it might be hard pre-computer age to understand how these things had to be done, but I managed to do it well. That after I was done with school, Reichhold asked me to come on and be their purchasing agent, and I did it for 2 years before actually joining Frank full time, and then taking our contracting company, and then turning kind of morphing into Bayshore Recycling what it is today. But that was definitely a game changer to seize the opportunity, and Reichhold was thrilled with me there because they felt that they had a competent person doing all of these jobs, and they took that model and basically interned people in the future to do that. And that was their model for vacations afterwards. So I felt it was a very good thing for both the corporation and for myself.
Wow, that's amazing. And I feel like that experience that you had, it just really set you up for your future and that you were able to learn, like how to communicate and just those skills that you needed to take, to your future career path, which is so awesome. And definitely very courageous, which leads me to my next question. Describe something you did in your work that was courageous.
So I think the courageous step was leaving the comfort of a Fortune 500 business and having a position and going to join my fiance at the time. We weren't even married, as a partner in business and working for him. It was a big step. My family was a blue collar family, and they always had the comfort of working for a good company and working there forever. My father never took a day off from work ever. He got all kinds of awards for, he was a truck driver. He actually drove chemical tankers. and he never took a day off from work. And until he actually was blessed with good health, he's 90 years old this year, and the same with my mother. They both had these fabulous work ethics, and they passed it along to my sister, my brother, and myself. And so they had comfortable jobs, so they knew that their jobs were good, and they knew that their employers were valued, and they really placed a faith in them taking care of our family, and in turn they took care of them by being great employees. So it was a big step for me to leave the comfort of that Fortune 500 job that I probably could have worked for my entire career and ultimately retired, and going into uncharted waters, which was a small business and working for someone I wasn't even married with at the time. So it was a big step. But I took the leap of faith, and I really loved what Frank did. And I felt we were engaged at the time. I felt we were definitely going to be married and start a family. And it was a good leap of faith. And here we are still today, together since 1980, married since 1985. And God willing, our businesses are still, successful and working hard, and our children are coming into it and working with them also.
Wow, that's insane because I'm just thinking about, you thinking and seeing how it's been successful in your past and just going into the uncharted waters. I know how, difficult that could be just because, you're thinking about your future and what step you're going to take. And so that's amazing. And in thinking about the high school girls and boys who had the opportunity to watch this fireside chat, what would you tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self to be courageous. Don't have anxiety about the future. Sometimes there are things that you can't control. And I'm sure as we get further into this conversation, you'll see life hits you with all kinds of curveballs. And you just have to learn to adapt. Even for instance, this COVID, it certainly is a big curveball. So I would say to my younger self to be brave, to not be afraid, to have faith in the universe, whatever religion you believe in, whatever, if you just believe in a higher being, or if you just believe that the universe has a plan for you, to go with it and to just be a good person and to follow the golden rule, and good things will come to you.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that so much. So life in this pandemic has been so hard, and much of what we do and love is on pause. So school, sports, our performance, our social lives. Some of us have family on the front line, and most of us are working from home. Many are at high risk. How are you and your family managing during these unprecedented times?
So one of the things most people would not realize is that solid waste and recycling is frontline workers. So we have never missed a beat during this pandemic. And our employees, and we have almost 250 employees now, and we have, being a facility, that is just at the facility, but so many other companies and municipalities rely on us. So if you think of all of the truck drivers who are driving all of those garbage trucks, all of the people who are collecting waste and bringing it to facilities, it's thousands and thousands and thousands of employees. So trying to keep them safe in this pandemic has been a challenge. And we have been blessed. We went into, and actually we had experience through Hurricane Sandy and through a couple of fires that unfortunately had hit our facility. We have had a lot of experience in trying to adapt to a crisis and to terrible crisis. So when the pandemic hit, we were already in crisis mode from a fire that our facility suffered in December. So our employees are wonderful. We have the most fabulous employees, some of them already starting to retire and being with us for 35 years. And it's just amazing that we have this team of dedicated people and colleagues who have just learned that, okay, this is what we have to face. And all of us sit down together. And even though if we didn't sit down around a table, now it's a virtual table, every single week we touch base together and figure out what is it that we have to do to adapt. How are we keeping our people safe? How are we in this Zoom world and now this WebEx, which is I've just learned to navigate. We've been able to do it, thank goodness. We understand in this new changing world, it is something that we have to learn to help our employees with, because having students home and trying to be a stay-at-home mom, manage a career now, and somehow get your work done, it is really challenging. And so we're trying to support our both men and women who have young children and even children into high school that need support to learn at home and try to work at Bayshore at the same time and manage their careers and jobs. So it has been challenging, and it has been challenging trying to keep the people who we do have in our offices, that we have to keep them socially distanced. We had to make sure that everyone was safe and separated. And some people gave up their offices and worked home for other people who could not work at home and who needed to stay back at the office. And trying to support all of that in this new world has been interesting, but we're getting through it. And we're just, trying to put in our mind and send good feelings and thoughts to all of our students who are trying to learn at home, because that wasn't our world. And part of the whole experience of school was being able to spend time and socialize. And our heart goes out for you guys who can't do that, but hope is on the way.
Yes. And first off, thank you so much to you and your employees for all of your frontline work. And I think it's so incredible how you're able to, not only have to deal with the fire, but just able to flip that switch and, go from your normal for how long it's been to now this new normal of social distancing and PPE. And, that's incredible, because I know how hard it is to have to, just switch so soon. So that's amazing. And as a follow-up to my previous question, what advice would you give the young people ready to take on the world?
I would say follow your passion. So throughout the years, I had several passions, and some was the environment, some was business, and some was music. And so trying to find what your heart is really calling out to you and making a living at it also is very important. So if there is a way that young people can take those passions and turn them into a career, that is the best advice that I can give. If not, then I would say to support as you get successful and as you work through your career, if you can somehow find volunteerism within your other passions, that would be something big. As we were able to grow our businesses, we supported only environmental groups because there was only just so much time in a day. But as we were able to grow and have more employees, and also more philanthropy in our world, because our businesses became more successful, we were able to add in and grow our group of organizations that we supported. So not only did we do our typical environmental groups, which was Nature Conservancy, Clean Ocean Action, Edison Wetlands, Mammoth Conservation, anything that had to do with farm and agriculture, we were able to expand that into, believe it or not, healthcare and music. We supported the Count Basie, we support the Avenel Performing Arts Center. The list goes on, and we would find out what our employees' passions were, and we would ask them which organizations and groups would they like to support. And then they went on either these boards or they went in volunteer groups, and then Bayshore, of course, would sponsor whatever it is that they would need. But on our website, you can find out how many organizations we do support and who from our company participates on boards. And I don't even want to misquote the number because it's really high, but we have our own Gary Sondermeyer, who is one of our vice presidents, who sits on Sustainable Jersey and the New Jersey League of Municipalities. And he takes so many of his talents and he writes for sustainable schools, and he helps write the standard, and he's been writing legislation through the Association of New Jersey Recyclers for a whole bunch of content recycling legislation that's coming out, and for food recycling and organic recycling. And I served as president for the National Association for the Construction and Demolition Recycling Association, and trying to take things national. So again, there's that passion. and then the volunteerism, because they're not paid positions. And I also sit on Monmouth University, and I sit on RWJ Barnabas board. So bringing a different twist, not only from business, but from environmental compassion and passion to these boards is just an amazing thing. So I would say, as to my young high school and college children that are looking, if you're not really sure what you want to focus on, volunteer with some of these groups and see if you can find what your passion is, and take that through your entire life. It's very rewarding, and you're paid back a million times over from your volunteerism and philanthropy.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I love what you said, where it's not only just finding your passion through volunteerism, but as you go and you have your career, don't forget to volunteer and to give back to the people and the organizations and the causes that you're really passionate about, which is so important now, especially. And so with COVID, we can see that life can throw us unexpected challenges. So can you tell us about your greatest challenge or your greatest setback and how you overcame it?
So we've been, all throughout our career, we've had crazy setbacks and have been blessed to overcome them. Our entire offices and some of our businesses were destroyed by Hurricane Sandy, and we also even had a fire because we, being very green, we used golf carts to go all over our facility, and we had all the golf carts plugged in. And we think, we don't know, but when the flood came in from Hurricane Sandy, we had a fire in our mechanic shop, and we think maybe the golf carts might have caught on fire because they were parked in there, but we'll never know. But we lost an entire mechanic shop, and thank God we didn't lose any of our other offices or anything else, just some downstairs offices and files. But we were able to pick up the pieces at that point and keep going, because it was more important than ever after Sandy to manage debris and to be able to have it disposed of and compliant for moving forward with the, oh my goodness, the amounts of debris that were generated by Hurricane Sandy. But I noticed after that stress, and I think just because of looking at what happened to, we live in a shore town, we live in a little town of Highlands. So seeing what happened all over Highland, Seabright, Little Silver, Rumson, all of my towns, including Woodbridge. Who would think that Woodbridge would be flooded, in Sayreville and Perth Amboy? The damage was just overwhelming. I think it took a toll on my immune system, and I was stricken with a mystery illness, which took years to diagnose, and it turned out it was Lyme disease and a bunch of co-infections. So the way Lyme disease kind of works, you can get sick and you think you have flu-like symptoms, but a lot of people, if you don't have that red ring, you would never think that you had Lyme disease. So I might have got it when I was younger, didn't know, and it goes dormant in your system. And then after Hurricane Sandy, I had these crazy amount of symptoms happening to me that, according to blood tests, were showing up as nothing. They couldn't figure it out. And until I got to the point over several years that I started to have these conscious seizures, they still couldn't figure it out. Some of my clients and friends through business said, "You have Lyme disease." And I'm like, "I don't have Lyme disease. Nothing shows up in my blood." And then when I learned more about how Lyme disease works and how insidious it is, and that the Lyme's kind of like COVID, you're kind of hearing the same things with COVID, that all of a sudden people, it's affecting people all different ways, and it even could kill you. And then I was finding out that people die from Lyme disease all the time, and that, I'm like, wow, I didn't even know about this. So lo and behold, it turned out I got special testing. I was lucky enough to get special testing, and I had Lyme disease and a whole bunch of co-infections. And just before I thought I was going to end up in a wheelchair, I was able to get treated, and here I am today. So I view it as one of my biggest challenges, but I always think that God never gives you more than he thinks you can handle. And the moral of the story was, my husband and I and our family were able to do a large philanthropic donation to an organization called Invisible International. And we were able to fund a portion of an education portion, which would be a platform for doctors who might not be familiar with Lyme disease, and they can go on and get free continuing education credits. And it also can be for the public, that people can go on and say, wow, I have these really weird symptoms. And has anybody else had patients with these weird symptoms? And now the doctors can at least go on and say, oh my goodness, okay, well, it's not showing up in this blood test, but maybe I can take another blood test. And so we funded it, and I'd be happy to share with everyone the link, because I feel that education is the biggest component, and we're getting ready to do our next big philanthropic ask to fund a repository for doctors to be able to, all over the world, put their information of how they've treated all of the Lyme disease and co-infections, and not just Lyme disease. Our doctors, because we're affiliated with Harvard and MIT and Yale and Stanford, we want to be able to get all of these great doctors with these peer-reviewed papers, and we're going to add COVID to that, to be able to say, this is how we're treating these type of symptoms, and that people don't go on for years and years and years being misdiagnosed or undiagnosed just because information wasn't available. So I feel that that was my biggest challenge, and it never goes away, and it can always rear its ugly head, and it's done several times in times of stress. But at least now that I know how to deal with it, and I'm fortunate enough to have a team that I can go to and tell them what my symptoms are and get treated, and I want to share that with the world to get other people treated also.
Oh, that's insane, because you've gone through so much just from being first in a male-dominated, career path, but now with Lyme disease, and I'm so glad that you got treated, and you got, that medical assistance you needed, and praise God for that. And also, it's amazing that you're just able to overcome so much. And I think that for our young people today, that's something that they can see is not only from a career standpoint, but also a personal standpoint, and how you were able to take that and really help other people with it. And that's, I think, something so incredible, that you wanted to just take what you learned and share it with other people. So thank you so much for that. Can you share with us one of your most teachable moments?
So I think one of my most teachable moments, we've kind of hit upon a lot of that throughout the conversation. But again, to recap, is to love and have a passion for what you do, because then if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. I know that sounds like a cliche, but it's so true. And every day is different, because I look for new and exciting things, and I try to instill that into my family and into my employees, and would love to pass that along to my junior achievement friends, and also to live by the golden rule, to work hard. My grandmother and my mom and dad taught me that to work hard and to be dedicated and have integrity. And I feel that if you carry that through your life, that you will always be either a valued business member of the community, or you'll be a valued employee to someone. And it's okay, you don't have to own the business. Sometimes I wish I didn't own the business, when I would be having one of these crises, and wish that that I had worked for somebody who can just be a valued employee. But unfortunately, the buck stopped here, my husband would say, and we have to pull ourselves together and do this for all the families and colleagues that depend on us. But whatever you choose to be, whether you choose to be that employee or whether you choose to be the business owner, I think that if you really work hard and you do the right thing and you support the community, that you will always have a rewarding life and a rewarding career. And your family and yourself, no matter what life throws at you, you will be able to overcome it.
Yes, thank you. And as we start to wrap up, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice was from my grandmother. Live by the golden rule. And I feel that no matter what your religion, if you do unto others what you want them to do unto you, that even if you're non-religious, if you practice that throughout your entire life, good things will come back to you, and you will be respected by all.
Well, thank you so much, Valerie, for sitting down and talking with us here today. And thank you so much for, sharing your wisdom with all of us and all the young students who are watching. I know I'm certainly coming out motivated and inspired by you. So thank you so much for your time today. And we're going to wrap up. Thank you again.
Thank you, Kayla. It was a pleasure, and good luck to you and your future, and good luck to everyone at Junior Achievement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mhm.